think maybe we'll just jump right in then. So I see we have a couple hands up. So Anthony, you got a hand up. What do you got?
I do. So it should be relatively simple for you guys, but I said not simple for me. So I had joined Talent Stacker to learn how to be a better admin. And here's our little ERD. I don't understand, like when we have custom objects, how do you relate? Like I'm trying to do this achievement object to our contact. I don't understand how to connect the two so you can see them on the contact record. Which again, I know this should be relatively simple to do, but I'm lost and I figure
Let
out we
me
can
uh,
ask.
let me just confirm one thing. Are you asking how to do it in this GetMind application, or are you talking
No, no,
about
no,
how would you do
no.
it in Salesforce?
I just wanted you to kind of see it right in Salesforce. So you should
Okay,
be able
let's go
to.
back to your ERD diagram. So
So
just say it back, you have an achievement custom object,
Yes,
and you want to relate it to contacts,
yes,
so that when you look at a contact, you can see all of their achievements.
correct.
Okay, so in that case, we're talking about a lookup relationship from the achievement object to the contact. So in other words, we have one contact to many different achievements.
Yes.
related list, turn on dynamic forms, put it on your Lightning app builder page, attach it, put the stuff you want to see in your related list.
See, Megan can do it in 2 seconds. So I'm in the object. You guys see the object now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
I
I'm
go
just
to,
giving you a hard time, Anthony. I'm sorry.
no, that's, I would expect nothing less from you, mate. Because you tried to help me before and I just.
I did.
So I
Okay.
go to the context or I go to achievement first.
Yeah. You go into achievement, and you would create the lookup relationship from here to its parent.
So I go.
So you would do new, and then you would be able to choose which kind of relationship. In 97.4% of the cases, you want to choose the lookup relationship. There are some cases where you do master detail, but I would say in this case, probably a lookup would be good enough. And we could debate that too, but yeah.
I'm using master details. It's something I'm working on right now, but it's only because the thing doesn't exist unless there's a master on it. And if the master goes away, there's no point in having it sitting in my org, like ever.
Jody's converting.
Yeah, I think that's valid, but there's like a whole. I'm sorry, Ryan. Good. I think I talked to you.
No, I think Jody Herbeck's converting me away from master details.
Is she?
Yeah, I think I saw the same
quickly.
thing. It's like you will
Yeah.
never create a master detail ever again. Don't do it. Yeah.
I love her. Is it part of? I'm listening to her book on audio right now. Is it in one of those chapters? Am I going to get to it?
I've never seen it in a chapter, but she frequently posts about it. And if you talk to her, make her way to San Antonio. Sometimes she comes to Salesforce Saturdays.
Oh.
She's very anti-master detail. She's also not a fan of. Is she the one not a fan of the check boxes? She prefers a yes and no pick list. But anyway.
Me too,
I'm
but
not
I
fully
got
converted on that one yet. But
I am 100%. I totally get that. I had a huge discussion this week about that specifically because I have to put checklists on 4 different record types. And I was like, this is dumb. They should be yes, no. And I got shut down.
Yeah, that way people can't
What's the argument?
accidentally not do something or do something. They have to actually make a choice.
Well, and my other issue is like some of the
Okay.
stuff is not applicable. I want a not applicable choice. And I'm relegating them to 2 that they have to fill out, but a no is not the same as not applicable.
What we need is a 3-way toggle functionality where it fits in the middle. Then you haven't made your choice, but you can go left where it's a no or right where it's a yes.
And let's
There is-
complicate it by
That's what a
technically
pick list
having a
is still.
checkbox not be a true Boolean because it can exist in a null state.
Yeah.
We need to have a 4-way toggle switch.
Oh my gosh, y'all are killing me. I found so App Exchange does have a checklist from Salesforce Labs, by the way, that is beautiful. It builds the checklist for you, tells you it's a checklist, and it has a yes, no, NA. And at the top, it has a line to where it doesn't give you like a nice green smiley line until everything in the checklist is complete. I'm not allowed to use that either.
Before I go into my proposal for a 5-position toggle switch, Anthony, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and
Um,
actually it showed up where I needed it to show up. So that's exactly what I needed.
Hey,
It
let's
was
not be
not to be
done.
insane. So thank you.
Let's not be done. Anthony, pull that back up and go into your lightning record page real quick. I just want to go over dynamic actions or dynamic forms with people
Awesome.
real quick because you're here and I know you're going to do it anyway.
Plus sharing the solution so people can see it is good.
Okay, so I'm here and you want me to do what?
Share your screen again.
Oh, I thought I had it. Mhm. So the lookup allowed me to see achievements down here.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay.
It is, well, it just started. I have to fix it. I have to clean it up still.
All right. Go ahead and go up to your little, yep. Go to edit page, not object, edit page. So many quick links. I also hate quick links. I don't know how anybody else feels about those, but I really hate them. And my husband is printing something right now, of course, at this moment. All right. So click onto your, did you already turn this all on? You did not. Click onto your details, just the whole thing. Just put a click on it. Okay. Over on your right-hand side, you're going to upgrade now. Pay attention when it does this because sometimes it'll add some wonky stuff to it. So just make sure after you do this, you always need to check. All right, you want to use, which one are you using?
Lightning.
Okay. Ta-da! So now it's giving you the ability to go in and actually edit where these are individually, but go all the way down to your related, see where's your, go up.
Related tab.
Mm-hmm. Yep, go to your related tab. And then go down to your achievements, click on it. Did this one not change?
Doesn't do anything.
so I think the component that you have there is a related list.
Yeah,
Megan, I
is.
think the direction you're going is the dynamic related list.
Yeah, he needs to pull over an individual dynamic related list. So
Now-
the single, yeah, pull that over. You're gonna have to get rid of these other ones anyways, and I don't like the related list as a function like that anyway.
So as a real quick aside though, if anybody is doing mobile Salesforce, those dynamic related lists are not visible.
No, and it'll tell you at the bottom usually that it's not.
So you can actually also do related list single, which isn't the dynamic version, but
Yeah.
then you don't have some additional functionality that you get with the dynamic list.
Yep. Nope, wrong one. Anthony, get rid of that real quick.
course.
Click, yeah, just click off of that and ignore it. Go to the related list type. Or the related list. Right now it gave you a count. You can see at the top.
Yep.
I'm gonna steal your screen. Okay, now go back. So click on it. All right. You're gonna use this contact on that though. Yep. Because this is where you're gonna look for that lookup that you just created and see, and it lists it for you. And there you go. And then you can actually go in and you can add fields. See where it says related list fields on the right hand side? Because right now all you see is the name.
Yep.
Nope, not there. Nope.
All the
Go
way down.
there. Add
Yep.
field.
Killing me.
Okay. Related list fields, add field underneath achievement name. Underneath, right there.
So
And
instead of doing a
then-
page layout, I can just do it here.
Yeah. You should not be doing anything in page layout ever again.
Slap my hands.
So go ahead and what other fields do you have in there? Do you just have the name? Or do you guys have other fields that you built into it?
We have other stuff, but I can't remember what the heck they are yet.
Just type an A and see what it gives me. Okay. Just pick one. It doesn't matter. Sure.
Need
Alright,
page
so-
layouts, Megan.
What?
You need page layouts because Salesforce isn't giving us these dynamic forms on experience pages.
I know.
So you
That's another
will
topic.
need your page layouts.
Now,
Use your page layouts if you're going to do experience, but he's not using experience.
let me ask you a
know
question,
that.
Anthony. Do you I think you had mentioned that this was work that you were doing for like a nonprofit. Will this page be exposed to an Experience Cloud?
It can be. This actually is, I'm doing
This is
Talent
Salesforce.
Stacker
Yeah.
for my little community project. So this isn't my real job. This is me trying to understand how to be a Megan. You know,
Gotcha.
a couple levels below her, of course. but
Don't
yeah,
be me,
just
be
trying to
better.
learn how to
Be
do it.
better.
So I can actually apply for admin jobs, but I'm still way behind a normal.
The point I was going to do with this though is so you can add these fields, but you can also sort these fields, and then you can also add filters to your related list as well as you go on further. It's just there's so much you can do here.
Awesome.
And you can like right now you have it in that achievement name, interview date. You can actually just drag if you wanted interview date first. All you have to do is grab it and drag it above achievement name. Nope, not in the
Oh,
thing,
this one.
like right above it in the related fist. No,
Ah,
I meant over here on the side where you see like the
I
blue.
see.
Just pull it up. There you go. And it's going to automatically populate over there exactly how you want it. So you can see it in real time as you're updating it.
Sweet.
I
Thank you. I
think
knew
that
this would take me 2 seconds to do it in this class, and it would take me a lot longer and a lot more swearing if I did it without it.
That's all right. You can come write on my user stories for me today.
I think though that this is a great lesson in there are just about anything that you do with Salesforce, especially the newer stuff, there's always pros and cons. And you need to find out the areas where it can be problematic and as well as the great things that you can do with it, because it always seems to be a balancing act, in my opinion.
To piggyback on what Sandy was saying earlier too about the mobile app, what we have found in one of our other projects is we actually just create two completely separate record pages, one for mobile, one for desktop. Even though Salesforce says they're good for both, it's not working because of our dynamic lists and things like that. We're having a lot of like nuance issues. And so to just get rid of it, instead of having to recreate the wheel a million times, we have just established that we have two record types, one for mobile, one for desktop. Is that what Salesforce wanted or intended? No, but they're not fixing it. So we can't keep wasting billable hours on trying to correct things.
Why wouldn't you just do a second lightning record page?
No, that's what I mean. Sorry, I
Okay.
said record type, didn't I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, you did.
Sorry. Two lightning record pages, one for desktop, one for mobile.
And one of the other cool things with those dynamic related lists is how you at the above where you were picking which related list, it says use this record. So you can actually get a related list from a related.
Which is, yep, I've been doing that this week too, Sandy. It's
Awesome.
my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's when I discovered that, I'm like, this is awesome. And then I learned after the fact that they're not showing up on the mobile app. And I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Remind me, Megan, say that again, what you did. You did two because the dynamics is not showing up for the mobile, so you have to create a separate page.
Yeah, we have two separate Lightning app pages, or yeah, Lightning record pages between our desktop org and our mobile app org because the functionalities don't match. And what?
Go ahead, finish yours.
Yeah, that's it. There's like the dynamic forms and stuff, like they don't actually work on the mobile app. And so we've just had to create two separate Lightning pages and we labeled them, obviously. So one for mobile, one for desktop, and we're applying them as needed. Because
In our org, we actually just use visibility. So we have both
you?
related lists, and then we have the visibility where this related list shows up if you're on a mobile device. This one shows up if you're on a desktop.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to, I guess it depends on how many differences there are between your desktop and mobile versions. So if it's literally just a related list and that's the only thing, I think the visibility way is probably the best way to go. Now, if you had a significant number of changes, dealing with all that with visibility, that could become a nightmare. And that's where I would say that you would want to do the separate. But just like everything else, there's like 100 different ways that you could do it. You know, it just depends on the specific use case.
A quick question about dynamic forms, since we're talking about if that's all right.
Yeah.
So we haven't converted to dynamic forms. I see all the benefits, and so on our case record, I've been kind of playing around within Sandbox and kind of reorganizing it, but I'm not 100% connecting how that ties in with like when an agent goes to create a new case, they create that case, but since they changed converted to dynamic forms, it's sort of messed up that. So I'm not like connecting the dots there. Does that make sense? Like they normally would click on the case and then they have all the fields to enter. I went around, converted dynamic forms, reorganized things. Now if I go back to create the case, all that's missing is just a few things there, and that's what I'm not able to figure.
Did you go back to your page layout?
So what happens is once you start using the dynamic fields on your page layouts, it will use that. Those are the ones that override. So if you're using the details section, which is basically the classic page layout, and then you're trying to add like an additional section with those dynamic fields, Salesforce goes and looks at only the dynamic field and adds that to that standard new button. And of course, as of now, there's no easy way to edit a standard button in Salesforce. So you either have to convert the entire page and do everything in those dynamic fields, or you stick to the details, the classic layout, and use that on your page layout. But you can't do a combination of both and then expect all the fields that you need to be on that new button.
Oh, so you just create a different new button,
You
basically?
can, but you have to make
Okay.
sure then to disable the other one, because you've got all those other places, you know, where they show up on the list view, they show up, if you do the little drop down on the tab, they can show up there. So you have to make sure to disable the standard new button. But yeah, you can create your own new button.
I have a question, Sandy, on that, because what I ended up doing to get around that, because I was having that issue, was I just went into the page layout and I moved over all of the buttons, like all of the fields that I needed to be filled out. I just moved them all down on the page layout so that then it was refreshing and like showing up with everything else on the Lightning page. So I didn't have to create anything new. Is this something else?
So the reason I discovered this is because we had an org that had a ridiculous amount of fields for an object, and they were trying to organize. They only wanted certain ones to always be required just to create it, and then they would go in and update it as they got more information on this record.
Right.
So we were going to separate it by tabs, and so because of that, that's why I thought we'd have the details using that classic page layout on the main one, and then go and add information on the different tabs that was related, kind of like doing it sections that way, because it was just so much information. And then when we went to go click on the new, none of those required fields to create were showing up. And then you've got this huge, gigantic, thing that's got all the fields on it. And so it's just like, well, it's just too much, because then you have to scroll all the way down to save it. So that was kind of, I actually ended up creating a new button for them. I think I don't remember exactly how we did it, because that was like a little over a year ago, but that was where I learned that. And I've even asked that when I was on the Readiness Live thing. I've posted that question about, so when are you guys you have all this stuff with dynamic fields, when are you gonna let us edit the new buttons so that we can make them work?
No, that checks. And I think your case for that would be much different, because like mine are so small. Like I only have like 5 or 6. Some of them I have 10.
But the nice thing with that, and one person actually did answer me, and they said that their workaround was to basically do the visibility rules on those fields, where if there is no because if it's brand new, there's no record ID.
Right.
So if there is no record ID, then these fields aren't visible. But obviously, just like we were talking about creating different Lightning record pages versus visibility, when you've got several hundred fields to do that with, that's just a little too much. But that was their workaround, was to kind of use the dynamic fields, and then to reduce the amount that shows up on the new button is to use that visibility option.
Got it. That tracks.
Right. So dynamic fields, dynamic actions. Any final questions on that before we move on?
I do have one thing to say. When you are trying to do your highlights panel and you're trying to do your dynamic actions, I know that you have the option to bring over a compact page layout. I know that that is the standard practice. I would say don't do it, because Salesforce has a weird ism where even if you've established a new compact page layout and you have a default page layout, even when you are setting the compact page layout to be where it draws from, because if you guys know, your dynamic actions are pulling from your compact page layout, not your page layout, there's a fight going on. I don't know why. And so basically I have changed all of it to where I pick the action. So it'll say either migrate, and when you're migrating, you're pulling from that compact layout, don't migrate. just put your own freaking buttons on there. Don't let the system do it. It's going to get clogged down. You're going to refresh the page a million times. It's not going to update. Just start over. You know what needs to be on there. If you don't need like 10 freaking buttons on there, just put them on there. Save yourself the headache. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sandy, you're like with me.
All right. Now, before we move on, I just want to point out I'm glad that at least one other person got the uniform requirements for today. So, Elsa, thank you so much for following directions. I appreciate it.
I can go change my shirt. I've got one. I've got a
So-
long sleeve and a short sleeve. So there.
There you go. All right. All right. So, Megan, you have your hand up. Do you have a different question?
Of course I do. My question is actually about change sets and new orgs. And because I'm kind of doing this by myself. Because we're not doing Salesforce DevOps, I can't do VS Code to save my life. Number one, I can't learn that in the 12 weeks I have to build this org and deliver an MVP. I just don't have time. When you're doing change sets for an initial org, do I also need to be bringing things over? Like I have custom objects where I've enabled feed tracking. That's another new thing, by the way. I enable feed tracking on these custom objects when I build them, and yet I'm not getting an activity history on my Lightning app, like on my Lightning app builder. I'm having to go back in and then manually enable the field tracking for the fields that I want or all the related fields. Then it shows up on my Lightning app builder, and then I can move it over. So that's another thing. But what I'm trying, so because of that, because I'm having all these weird little isms going on. So for example, I'm not doing permissions yet at all. This is just for the objects. For my change set, do I need to bring over just the whole object? If I bring over the whole object, will that bring over all of the new fields that I've created inside it? Or do I also need to go in and like, am I going to individually have to like check all of the fields? And then do I also need to bring in all of the page layouts, the list views? Like, does all of that
Yes.
have to be done separately for the very first one?
It all.
For-
Yep.
Mhm.
You have to bring all.
And then don't
Okay.
forget to include the profiles too when you're doing a change set.
Don't have profiles yet.
You gotta have some.
You have to have at least
Yeah.
something, like a
do.
You
sysadmin.
don't- I would
System admin.
argue you don't have to have any of them if you're managing your security with permission sets.
We are
right?
managing it with permission sets as of right now, but I'm going to tell you right now, as good of an idea as that sounds, Salesforce has pushed out mandating profiles to go away to 2026, and I'm still having an issue because I suck at flows, coming up with a way to do it with only permission sets versus profiles, and they're only going to have 4 profiles for the
We'll
entire
talk.
org.
I'll hook
Thanks.
you up.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Yeah,
So-
I'll hook you up on that.
Yeah, okay. So that being the answer then is, so I literally need to like do every object, every field, every layout.
If you want to
Liter-
move it, you need to add it. Yeah. They have a whole dependencies check thing, but it's not good.
That's,
It-
yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I think dependencies are going to find out. Like, for example, if you added a flow into your change set and then you would view dependencies, it might find like fields that might have been referenced in that flow or things like that. But if you add an object, it's not going to see the page layout or like a lightning page as a dependency for that object. Yeah. So it's kind of like when you want to move an object over, it would be ideal if these things were grouped together. They just had like a set list, but it's almost like you gotta look in every one of those different folders in the change set for page layouts, lightning pages, maybe triggers if you have any related to the object. Basically anything object related, you got to go through each one of those folders, see if it shows up there, and then you can add it over.
Okay, so going back to that enable field tracking, how would I, here, I'm just going to share with you guys real quick. I'm going to show you something
Yeah.
because it's messing me
Smoke
up.
testing is going to find things you missed every single time.
Well, Ryan, they finally just gave me a QA. So
Yeah.
all
So
of
when
my
you get
stuff
into
has
that
been
QA
sitting
org,
there.
you're going to find all your stuff that missed, and then you're going to go back and you build more change sets to bring those over. It's a really fun process. Change sets are just a joy to work with.
Well, and that's why Jordan wanted to do VS Code, but Tim's like, we don't have time to teach Megan how to do VS Code. I've literally have 10 weeks
You know,
left.
have Jordan do the VS Code.
Jordan doesn't have time to do the VS Code. All right, so
What about
Here's
the Pato?
we won't pay for Capato. We
They've got a
refuse.
free version.
There's a free version. You get 15 shots a month. It's
Well,
pretty
wait-
nice.
I would learn the VS code before I would do Capado, but that's
Okay. So let's go into here real quick. Okay, so here's my project. I was messing with some stuff, but anyway. So when I set this up, I enabled everything, right?
Yeah.
Cool story, right? But when I went to actually build this,
Well, you enabled field history tracking, but is there a field that's actually selected for history?
that's what you have to go back and do on the custom objects. I didn't have to do that before though. It just tracked the object. So now I'm having to go in to find that activity history. I have to go, what I was going to show you. Ugh, I hate having this at the top of my page.
Trying to see how you shared this without showing the cameras. I need to learn that, or you shared the full screen. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Okay, so we'll go. There's nothing in here. This is all fake, so I'm not worried about you guys seeing this. It's also not in production, so I still don't care. So the reason why I'm asking is I enabled the feed tracking here, right? Before I did anything else, when I created it, I did all the things, but then I wasn't able to put it on my Lightning app page. And then I had to go back in to, oops. Oh, also I had to have, even though I had enabled feed tracking, this was another thing, chatter. I couldn't put chatter on any of the objects in Lightning App Builder, even though I had enabled feed tracking when I started. So look, I'll give you an example.
Hey, real quick, Meg, just take a very quick step back. Are you talking about chatter feed tracking, or are you talking about field history tracking, or
So
both?
I want both. Both of them wouldn't work because I had to come in here and manually turn it on too. I couldn't put either one on my app, like on my Lightning pages, because, and I couldn't figure out, it took me forever to figure out that I had to come in here and enable it too. So on your Lightning page, right here, I should have had these three components, right? I didn't. They never showed up.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense that you'd have to go in and enable it within the chatter settings. But for the
So-
activity history that you were looking at,
but I had enabled it. I had already enabled it for history and everything else when I built. So hold on, does anybody know how to get rid of this stupid thing at the top of my screen?
just drag it out of the way.
Well, go
Awesome.
away. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay,
We don't see
so
it.
I see it now. It's gone.
But yeah,
See,
now I know you can drag it, so thank you. Good tip.
thanks.
Are these for objects that, did you move this object over or you created it here?
I created it here. That's what I was going to say. So when I create a new object, I did all the things. I did all of this. Allow reports, allow activities, track field history, allow in chatter groups,
No.
all of it.
No, hold on, take a quick pause. Hold on one
Yeah.
sec. That setting there for track field history, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but that basically allows you to start tracking history for fields. Forget chatter for a minute, just for the field history, but it doesn't actually turn anything on until you go into the fields page and then go into the like track history settings, and then you enable it for a field. So
Right.
just because you check that, it enables you to do the history thing, but until you select a field, it's not actually doing anything.
Right. And then when I created my fields, we're just going to make one up for now. We'll do an auto number. Pizza Day. It's National Pizza Day, in case anybody didn't know.
Your test field naming conventions are almost as bad as mine. Let's go here. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So next, visible to everybody. It's read only because it's an auto number. Keep that in mind, everyone. If you have an auto number, it is automatically read only. Add to field. Save. Because I enabled field history tracking, shouldn't that field, my pizza field, automatically be tracked?
Nope, you need to click that set
No,
history tracking button.
You're right.
you can
And
only
then-
track a certain number of fields, so you have to
Yeah,
pick
and
which
it'll
one
never
to
be
track.
changed anyway. because it's
An
an
auto number is going to be it forever.
Yeah. So you probably can't even enable tracking.
Probably a bad example.
So go back. Go
So-
back to all the fields.
Go back to all the fields.
Yeah.
Up at the top.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yay! Who's writing on my board?
Probably Steve.
That's me.
Thanks, Steve. So, account field history, enable account history,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that's why.
Yeah. And then you got to pick the field, but an auto number,
Now,
I don't
account
think would
special, I
appear.
don't think they'll all have that one at the top, but then
Oh.
you'll get to this.
Fun fact for everybody, in field history tracking, you can only select up to 20, max comes with Salesforce. And if you get field audit history or whatever with Salesforce Shield or Salesforce Security Center, you can do 60.
Yeah, that also changes how long the tracking is kept.
Yeah. Yes, it's like infinity because it's used for government auditing. So, okay, awesome sauce. That all being said, once I turn this on here, it's enabled, I've enabled it there. This will move. I don't have to do anything extra with my change set. It is part of the object now and it will go with me forever.
I think you're probably going to have to manually do the updating in the next org.
Well, I think you might have to include the field too, because you've also changed that setting on field.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be moving them all together anyway, all at once this afternoon.
Well,
Like
but
everything
Megan,
I've built.
Even if this does work for you, it's going to fool you, because if it works the first time, it won't work the next time. Because when you try to push up more changes and you want to undo some, it doesn't work. I've always had to do this as a manual step.
Yeah, I would just add it to your list of things that you just need to at least double check.
Okay.
Because that's like when we have our deployment plan, that's what I usually do. I'm like, what do I need to do pre-deployment? Because like if you have a standard object with a standard field and you want to add a pick list value, you kind of have to do that manually.
You do?
And so, yes, you cannot, because in change sets, you cannot grab standard objects and standard fields.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
I am so excited that for my first project that I got thrown on by myself, completely by myself, I am doing things that I have never done in my entire life. And I don't have a plan or
Call
documentation.
me more often. We're on the same
Again,
team here.
I know.
Things part of your stories that you're writing today.
It's an amazing way to learn.
Make some of these things part of your user stories that you're writing today.
It's a good idea. Yay.
All right.
Hey, Bill.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm good. Sorry I took up all your time.
There you go. There you go. Again, I put out the uniform requirements. Everybody ignores them. So
I literally brought a heart.
I don't think that counts, to be honest with
It's
you.
not the same.
All right, let's
Is
see.
that,
All
that's
right.
not team red, white, and blue?
All right, Greg, what do you got?
I've got we have a website where people can purchase products, and then we create a contact record. And part of the process of creating the contact record, they get assigned to be a sales rep. That's not in Salesforce. They're an outside broker.
Yeah.
And we want to send an email to that broker to tell them that a sale was created and here's the contact information.
Yeah.
How do I set up the recipient to go? Well, I created an email template. How do I send an email to somebody outside of the Salesforce spectrum?
Yeah.
Dynamic.
Let me give you my gut reaction from what you just said, and then we can open it up for discussion. Should just state it back what you said to me. So you have a website, people are purchasing stuff. When they purchase it, it's going to basically create a record in Salesforce, and you want to email that information to an external sales rep, like some dude that's outside, not a user of Salesforce at all. Right.
Right. But
So,
they are a contact record. That outside person is a contact record
Yeah.
as well.
So that's exactly where I was going to go. So as long as that external person, they're a contact record, you have their email address. What I would think would happen is you would have like a record triggered flow that when one of the, like that thing happens on the website, the record trigger flow fires, it grabs whoever the salesperson is and then just sends them an email through the flow. Does that make sense?
Right. I've trying to use an email template using an email alert.
Yeah.
And when you create the email alert, the only recipients can be Salesforce people.
Users user records.
Right.
Have you tried
Yeah.
a chatter-free user?
Excuse me?
Have you tried to create a chatter-free user record? See if it can go that way. I don't think so. I think it can only go to licensed users.
Before I would create a chatter free user, I think I would probably not go that route. I might do the flow, which you can just tell it what email address to send it to. And in that case, you can grab the email address from the contact and send it that way. The only issue, Angie, that I could see is like if you had 5 people that you work with, part of your company that are salespeople, and you're going to be sending them loads of emails whenever things happen in Salesforce, I think that might make sense. However, if it's like these are salespeople, reps from other companies, people that you might work with from time to time, I don't know if I'd want to have to maintain all those user records, for a chatter for user.
Can't send them to chatter-free users anyway. I remembered that as I was talking. You can't send email templates. You can't specify the recipient of an email template to be a chatter-free user. But what you're saying, Bill, is you'd specify the recipient as the contact record in the flow.
Yeah. So basically send it to the contact's email address from within the flow. I'm trying to get to that screen just so we can see the email template. Now you're using classic email templates?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's just take a look at this for those that might not be aware. So I'm in classic email templates. So I'm just going to give this test template. Subject is test. And then we have our email body. And okay. So I guess you're in the second step. So you have your template, and then you're actually in. How are you doing this? This is like a workflow rule that you're triggering?
Well, I have a flow, and I'm calling it an email alert,
Okay.
which has a template attached.
Okay.
And I want to send that email alert to the broker and not to the actual contact record.
Okay, I'm tracking now. So let's do this. Let's go into flow. And let's just say that we're going to say it's a lead. When a lead is created, we want to send an email to a contact record. Let's just use that as our kind of thing here. So I'm going to go to record triggered flow, create. And then we're going to say whenever a lead record is created, no conditions right now, and we'll do in the after context. Let me use this as an opportunity to complain about this stupid pop-out thing. Let's close that. And then here, let's just say we went to email. Is this what you're using to send email alert?
No, I'm using action and blah, blah, blah. Action, and then I go down to email. I select the type. From the category, I select type.
Then send email?
No, at the top where it says filter by on the top left, select type.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then email alert.
And then your email alert would show up here. Okay.
Right.
All right. So let's take a step back here. I'm going to go to email alerts. Let's just create one real quick. New. Whatever. It's going to be on the lead. I should be able to select my template that I just created. If I remembered what I called it. What did I call the thing? Test. There we go. Okay, and then there you go. So you got your recipient types, and then it's just showing users. Roles, related user, related lead or contact owner. Okay, related contact. Now, we could set this up and test this, but if you wanted to go this route of using the email alert instead of you just doing the send email functionality within the flow itself, if you were going to go this route, if you had a lead object with a lookup to the contact object, am I correct in thinking that when I select related contact, I should see that field here? And then you should be able to send it to a contact?
I don't remember seeing that option on contacts, but
All right, let's test that thing out.
well, let's back up a second. Is it?
Yeah.
I have a sophisticated email and in a template. Is there a way to create an email template in a flow where I can just do things normally? Am I doing it more complicated than it needs to be?
I don't know, but let's go down one path at a time. Let's continue on with what you have with your existing template. But just to kind of test this out, I want to create a contact lookup from the lead. And what I just want to prove out is that if I go to that email alert, that I will be able to select that contact as the recipient.
The send email action does have a reference to the email template ID.
You should be able to send that, select that. Yeah. So that'll be our second path that we go through. So let's just do this here. Object is going to be lead. And template, I can select test template. And then for the recipient, related contact. Yeah. So in theory, with the email alert, the way that you're doing this, I mean, you should be able to select the recipient type as related contact. And as long as that contact's selected on the lead record or whatever that the record is that's triggering the alert, it should be able to send that as the recipient.
I think you can even send it to email fields that are on the contact that aren't the related contact if you look in your search options there for recipient type. Yeah, so if there were email fields on whatever object you're dealing with, you can pick the user there too. Sorry, it didn't come to me right away when we started talking. Been a minute since I used email alerts. I've kind of moved away to the send email.
I went back to my email alert and I'm able to select the broker contact ID, which will give me the email.
Yeah, so that should set that as the recipient then.
That solved it. I didn't realize that was an option.
Now,
Yeah, now, oh, go ahead, Sandy. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, did you, with one of the updates with the new release, how email alerts are going to now show you which flow they might be used in along with a version?
Wow.
I did not see that.
That'll be super helpful 10 years from now when you're trying to figure out why this person keeps getting these emails.
Yep.
I know if we went this path here for the send email directly in the flow, I thought email template ID. So the ID of the email template to use for this subject and body of the email. Okay, so I guess you got to put the ID. Now, what I find kind of lame is again that we got to put the ID in there. But I guess you could do maybe you got to get records to find the right one, or you just got to paste it in hard coded. I think that's kind of lame. But in any case, yeah. So I think the send email option might work too, and you can select that template ID, and then you can pass in, whatever email address or contact ID that you would want. But
it'll fail if you have less than 1 or more than 5 users, though.
Less than 1 or more than 5 recipients?
Recipients, yeah.
Okay.
Then the send action will fail.
Okay.
Well, it's going to 1, so we're fine. Well, thank you. I've learned a lot.
Cool. All right. Angie.
Bill, would you mind going through getting the ID for the template through the flow? Just because hard coding is such a bad idea.
Yeah, and I'm going to preface this by saying I have no idea if this is going to work, but let's just give that a quick whirl here, right? So if I were to go in here, again, no idea if this is an available thing, but if I do get records and we say get the template, right? And then in the object, I would assume that there's an email template thing, maybe.
Right there.
Email template. Okay, and then I can say where the name is equal to, or let's just do the name contains. What do I call that thing? Test? Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
Okay, and then in the action, then if I did edit element template ID, then I should be able to say email template from the get email template and then ID.
Yeah, that should do it.
Should, yeah, I think. Maybe.
Perfect. Many thanks.
Yeah. All right. Angie, what do you got?
So, all right, I have a couple things to share that I've learned this week that might help other people. One is that activities are only able to be reported on through the Salesforce UI for 1 year. So if you're storing data in the activities that you might want to query more than a year from now, you can't do it through reports in the UI. You can do it in a couple other ways, like in the developer console and in Inspector, but you can't filter on the description field. So learned those things this week, and it was part of a legal exercise. So that was an interesting finding in that. Okay, that was one. Number two is I have a client that has an integration that's using an object that was only available in Classic, the account contact relationship object. So in Lightning, it is the contact to many accounts or some variation of those words is what replaced the account contact relationship object. But the integration is with a vendor that's being phased out. So they don't want to pay this vendor to fix or update the integration, but they want to move to Lightning, except that this one piece is preventing them from doing so. So I created a field in just a custom field in the contact object and created a flow that when that checkbox is checked, it will update the account contact relation. It'll update the field that they need for the integration. So that was just like a little thing. Seems basic, but I wanted to share it because it was cool.
Yeah.
Okay, then I have 2 questions.
Okay.
So the first one I put in Slack, Bill, we chatted about it a little bit. I actually have a little timer I'm setting for myself because I don't want to spend more than 3 minutes on this. I don't have all the information. So if there's questions or whatever, I'm just gonna forget it. I'm off this contract. It's more just a curiosity at this point.
Yeah.
We had an integration where a piece of data was put into the opportunity product line into a Lightning Web component. And then that piece of data would go to a third-party system and do an action. Sometimes there were 2 lines in an opportunity. And so 2 actions would take place. And the trigger was on opportunity closed 1. The integration was kicked off with a flow. That third-party system couldn't take 2 of the same call right after one another sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We put a 2-second delay in the flow. Again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The vendor has said, we're just going to give you back a general error, like a 503 basically, if that second call fails. And then we just made some manual instructions on how to fix it. Still trying to get to the bottom of it though. 15 minutes later, that second call goes through. So it's like
without any additional actions, it goes through.
With no additional actions on our side, and they say it's not on their side. So go ahead.
Yeah, when I was thinking through this, there's a couple different places that I would look. I don't know if I have an answer, but the places where I would look would be, first of all, with them, right? Because if it's failing, maybe you're sending 2 requests, they're getting queued, but it can only process one at a time. So it processes the one and they have some kind of retry mechanism that would then process it 15 seconds later. If they're saying they don't have that, then the second thing I was going to think of is how exactly is the request being sent to the outside? Like, is it just straight up HTTP callouts through Flow, or was there something set up with platform events or something like that, and a retry mechanism or Apex or something like that?
It is in Apex, but they said that the developer said that he did not put any retry in. Everybody thinks it might be something in Salesforce that's triggering.
So in other words, if it does a call out, okay, that might be the third option then. So if it does a call out and it receives a failure, is there some kind of built-in retry mechanism of HTTP callouts that'll just retry the same request again in 15 seconds?
Only 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes. Okay, yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there no log? There's no log telling you where the other one's coming out of?
On the third-party system, they show a call with a general error, and then 15 minutes later, a call with success.
And it's coming from your system. The call is coming from your system.
The call is coming from inside the org.
It's coming from Salesforce. Okay, I got that.
So I'm curious, when you go into Salesforce, when you go into setup, if you look at the outbound messages, like under monitoring, does anything get logged in there?
Oh yeah. Do you have all the monitoring logs? What type of org do you have?
All right, so this is where I have to tap out because I don't even have access to their production Salesforce. And the people who do have told me nothing. We've hit our timer, so I'm going to move on.
Yeah, this is just for to show. This is what I was talking about. So under outbound messages, there's like this queue, and I'm pretty sure that it's got some like retry number of attempts and next attempt and all that. So if something was failing and then being retried automatically, this might be the first place I would look.
Okay. And you should screenshot this and send it to him and be like, I'm not asking you for a lot. Yeah, see? Great minds.
Yep, I just screenshotted it. So, okay, cool. Can I ask one more question?
Sure. I just want to point out when Megan said log earlier, I thought she said law. I'm like, yeah, there should be a law against that. But then she said log twice, and then I realized what she meant. But go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
My Missouri's coming out.
So the last thing I'm trying to do, none of this is related, by the way, all of these are unrelated.
Okay.
This is a sandbox.
Speaking of Missouri.
Too funny. That happens to me all the time. Okay. This is an account in an instance of Salesforce. This company has a second instance of Salesforce. We won't get into the why or the can we get rid of it. It's got to stay there. And this member status is part of that second instance. So what I'm trying to do is connect the two, but I don't want it to be on a real time. And I have reasons for that are maybe debatable, but I was thinking about pulling in all of the member data into a custom object into this Salesforce nightly so that it doesn't get hiccups during the day or anything. I don't know, but pulling it in nightly and then having the account object check that custom object for the member status when this is either created or when the member ID is entered. And so I was trying to figure out, like, could I do this so that if I type the member ID that exists in the custom object, that it would pull up the record from the custom object? And like, I'm having a brain fart as to how to make this happen.
It might not do it right on pull up, right when you type it, but it could. A duplicate rule might show it actually right as you type it. And then also you could use a VLOOKUP in a validation rule. That's kind of an advanced validation rule.
But would a validation rule give me the data from the other object?
I think I thought you were talking about another record of the same object. That's what the VLOOKUP is. So never mind that. That one won't work for you.
No.
Can you guys not do a multi-org like tiered thing so that you can see everything? Since there's two instances?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Brian, do you know what I'm talking about? The multi-org, so you can you have one and then you have the child org underneath and you can see everything between the two of them.
Not something I've ever dealt with, no.
Feels like it's set up that way and it's not.
So Andy, just to confirm, so you have this Salesforce instance, you have a second one, and basically in that second Salesforce instance, that's where you have like Pepsi, you got their member ID, and then there's some kind of like active status to say whether or not they're a member, whatever member is, right? Just whether it's true or false, right? So the theory is that at some point that value in the second system might change from false to true, or it might change from true to false. And you need to get that update into this Salesforce instance and make sure that it gets updated appropriately so that when you're looking at it here, you can then see whether it's true or false, right? Yeah. So the question is, and maybe you mentioned this, but in the second Salesforce instance, when that happens, I'm assuming that it's making like an HTTP call out, or basically a Salesforce to Salesforce call to say that it's changed. Like, isn't that how
Okay, yeah, you're definitely giving me something to think about there. We haven't connected the two yet. I was trying to design this whole thing before I have a developer try to connect the two.
Okay, no. Okay, so if let's just say that in a world there was no HTTP callouts or anything like that, and you were just working in the CSV file business, right? So I could see a world where in that second instance, let's just say that all the statuses are changing throughout the day, whatever it is, and at night somebody were to export a CSV file that had the member ID and the status, and you came into this Salesforce instance and you did an upsert of that
Yeah.
into your member table, it would match on an external ID. That member ID should be an external ID field.
Yep.
And when you would do an update, it would basically update all the statuses. But the key is that that member ID's got to be an external ID. Like there's got to be a table in here that's like a member table where it's got like the external ID, member ID field, the name, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so like that member table, I could see that being where you would do the update if it was like, again, a CSV file or something like that.
I think you need a different ID, Bill, because I think like the member ID makes it a member. And then so if the account like in the child doesn't have a member ID, it's not going to match on anything. Because it looks like that member question mark checkbox is just a formula which returns truth as a value in member ID.
Okay, so that member lookup, I was assuming that the status was on that object and that member question mark was just like a formula field that's looking up to the member object, grabbing the status and just displaying it here.
So like arrow mark is not a member. And so this is what it would look like if it was not a member.
Yeah, but that member field, that member question mark field, is that a checkbox or is that a formula field that's a lookup to the member's status field?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
So what kind of information are you trying to display here?
So
just a number. Oh, go ahead, Angie. I'm sorry.
No, this is it. This is what I'm trying to display. I think I just have some gaps in exactly what I need right now. So I think I'm gonna maybe stop there. And like just talking it through even a little bit has made me realize there's some questions I need to answer myself first.
Because I've got something similar that I do on a daily basis. I have to, in an external system or a separate system, I download a CSV file. And then we do an insert. So it creates records for everything. And then we have a matching flow. So we'll try to take the information on that and try to match it with existing records. And then it takes the information. If it finds a match, then it tries to then update based on what was in that row. So we have something similar. That's why I was asking, like, what exactly is it that you're trying to update and get? But we have a flow, a record triggered flow that does the matching. And then if it finds a match, then it kind of links the two records to each other.
And then how does it display the information from the other record on this record?
It doesn't, it just has it on a related list. But other ways that I've done it in other orgs, if I have a related object that I want to display that information, you can actually create an action and then display that action like as a component.
Yeah. So looking at our time here, I think we are just about out of time. But Angie, what I would say, it sounds like you if you have that member table in that org that you were displaying, that's got like that ID and whatever it is, right? Whether you're updating that member table through a CSV update that you're doing, or you're calling your Salesforce work from the other org whenever the member status changes, and you're doing it like as a one-off change, I think what you have, like, that would still apply. Same logic's going to apply. It's just that you have the lookup to the member table. You're displaying the checkbox, which is a formula from that member table, and you're either updating it manually through a CSV file update, or you're doing it through some call out from the other org into your org to update that field.
Yeah, I think where I need to think through is whether how existing records are going to be handled and changes, like you're saying, and then new records that get brought into the second Salesforce org, how it looks out to the other one. So I think I've got some.
Whatever that mechanism is in your Salesforce org that's going to catch, right? When a request comes in, like, hey, a member status has changed, that payload that's coming over, that should be like the name of the record, the member ID, the status, all that stuff. And then the very first thing that you're going to check is, does this thing already exist in our member table? And if it does, update the status. If it doesn't, then you'd be creating a new member record and putting in, the details that got sent over. So yeah, I think that the heavy lifting is just going to be on that logic, call it a flow, call it logic, but it's going to be the thing that receives the payload to determine whether it should be creating or updating.
Thank you.
All right. Well, 1 minute after, I think this has been a successful call. Appreciate everybody joining. Appreciate everybody providing all their feedback and questions. And if I don't talk to you, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week.